everyone. Welcome to Autumn is Here. I'm so glad you joined us this evening. Today we have a special guest. She was a caregiver. Her name is Miss Hope Maxwell. We want to welcome her to the show. Welcome, Hope. How you doing?
Thank you. I'm good. Thank you. I'm good.
Good, good. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show to share some information with us. Please first tell us a little bit about yourself.
Um, I'm a mother of two.
Okay.
I have two boys. They're 20 twins. Uh, I'm a software engineer. I work from home and I'm a sister and was a daughter and was a sister. I lost my sister as well. And I have a pretty small, very close, wonderful, loving family.
Okay. All right. So I know that you were a caregiver and not only
Yeah.
to one person, but to two.
Yeah.
Can you give us a little bit about that story? How did you become a caregiver to two people?
Well, what had happened was, no, it started when my mom came to live with me when I was pregnant with the twins. She was already retired because she had me when she was older, close to 40. So by the time I was having the twins in 2004, she came to help. And she's lived with me, so she was in good health at the time, always had heart problems. That heart problem progressed to congestive heart failure maybe 18 years later.
Mhm.
So she was already with me, and naturally, I was the one to take care of her.
Mhm.
My brother lives in another state. He came often, but she was mine. She lives with me.
Right.
My sister lived in another state, and she had no kids.
Okay.
And as I said, it's a really close family. When I had my kids, my sister came for 4 months because she too was already retired because my sister was 36 years older than I. She was my dad's first child. And
Okay.
my dad had me when he was 60.
Okay.
So essentially, my sister and my mother were only a year apart. My mother was born in 1935 and my sister was born in 1936.
Okay. Wow.
So anyway, I'm her baby sister and she was always very close to me and she had no kids. So when I had my own, it was like, oh my God, my sister has babies. So lots of trips back and forth. And I would go to her state, Florida at the time, a lot to help her with this, that, and the other, because she retired from New York.
Mm.
I was taking care of all her stuff, her and her husband. He passed for maybe 5 years ago. Yeah, 2020 he passed.
Mhm.
And then I started to see some decline, but nothing to worry about. And fast forward a couple of years. She came to visit as she does for a few months, and I started noticing something wasn't right. Something was off. Um, Cognitively. It was ever so subtle, and I called her doctor in Florida, and the doctor said she had early onset Alzheimer's. So I said, okay, all right, early. I thought meant we had time.
Mhm.
Even without it progressing, I said, sis, you've nothing to rush back to anyway. So we had the neighbor watching her dog. Stay. We'll figure it out. I didn't even have to say that. She wasn't rushing home anyway. She usually came for a few months. But as time progressed, I realized something more was happening. Her vision was going, her mobility was going. I didn't understand what the correlation was. So fast forward, she came in June.
Mhm.
By December, she was forgetting major things. And
Wow.
she became even more fragile, stumbling when she walked,
Mm.
more obstinate, like very combative, which was not her nature, not with me. She had a huge soft spot for me. So this change in her demeanor was, had me going, what is going on?
And
I already knew it was early onset, but doing my own research, I realized different things can accelerate it. So during this time between September, this is 2022.
okay.
My mother got ill. I think she got COVID or something, and mommy ended up in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
And my mother and sister were so close. My sister practically bawled every day for my mother to come home.
Mm,
They sent mommy to rehab, and every day we would go and see her. And my sister was just, they were so connected. Remember, this is her stepmother.
mhm,
And it was very much a mother-daughter relationship. It was not sister-like because, obviously they're about the same age now. My mother was very maternal. She nurtured my sister. My sister never really knew her own mother. It
mm,
was a mother-daughter relationship. She pined for mommy. I would take her to the nursing home and eventually, nursing rehab, nursing home. The care isn't always the best.
mhm,
I sprung her. I told them, look, I'm taking her home. I can care for her. I'll figure it out. Brought her home. But that time that mommy was away, my
mhm,
sister's decline, it accelerated.
yeah, yeah.
She started forgetting how to use the bathroom, things like that. I would wonder why is she in the bathroom so long? I'd go and she'd be standing there just kind of looking around, not sure what to do or how she got here.
Mm,
It, and I started researching and it was saying different types of trauma can accelerate
right,
the condition. This is all my own research because I thought early onset meant we had years before it was a problem.
right.
Wasn't the case.
Mm,
Mommy came home. Mommy's health steadily started to decline. The congestive heart failure was like an end stage. So now her mobility is compromised, but her brain is sharp. My mother lost nothing, no cognitive deficits.
mm,
So she was kind of helping me keep an eye on my sister as my sister declined.
mm,
January rolled around. I'm keeping an eye on her, but not laser sharp. Like, for instance, I went to the bathroom 5 minutes and then I heard a scream. She got up from the couch. I don't know how she moved so quickly because she can't see that well.
mm,
She started to climb the stairs and
mm,
she fell
okay.
backwards down the stairs.
Oh, wow.
She got a 10 centimeter gash in her head.
Ah,
It was over at that point. Whatever vision she had left
mhm.
went.
Oh, no.
Diabetic, um, what is it called? It attacks the eyes. She lost, it was, her diabetes was out of control, something I didn't even catch until it was too late. Diabetic retinopathy, that's what it was. And that trauma took what was left of her sight and put her Alzheimer's in hyperspeed.
Mm,
So this is now January of 2023. And it just became a rodeo from that. By mommy's birthday, my sister's birthday was in January. She fell right after her birthday, and then it was just the decline just started. She stopped eating solid foods. She
wow.
started spitting her food out. Now I'm working full time at home. I have no help. And at this point now, I gotta have them both in Pampers or whatever, adult because I couldn't keep up with the messes. And mommy couldn't walk well. She had a walker. She had a rollator and a walker for in the house. And mommy was about 130 something, 140 pounds. And
Mm,
she started, as her heart failed, she started to expand.
really?
She started swelling and she must have got up to
Mm,
200 easy
oh, wow.
because that's what happens when the heart starts to shut down while you're alive.
Water. Yeah.
Exactly. Her mobility slowed and slowed and slowed. That affected my sister, who was a nurse, by the way, for 45 years. So
Wow.
somewhere in her brain, she kept trying to help mommy.
Mhm,
I had to I bought a new house in the middle of all this because I needed room because I figured I was going to have to get help. Got this house. They didn't want to be separated. What was the point? They wanted to share a room. I said, but I searched so hard to get a room. So you. So anyway, they're now roommates, so emotionally attached to each other. And she was always trying to help mommy. She couldn't see, but she's trying to help her
mhm,
because now she's feeling around. Um, anyway, they're in the same room. My mother's physically declining, my sister mentally declining. So it got so bad I had to now lock the doors at nights because she would get up and roam and knock things over. It was very hard to keep her calm at nights. And mommy would help. She'd be watching her and giving her direction because if my mother told her to jump off a bridge, she would. Anything mommy said, she followed. So mommy helped control her so I could sleep because I was sleeping in 3 hour increments. I still had no help.
Mm.
And she would guide her. And sometimes mommy would call me and said, you got to come because your sister is, like she's tearing something or she started tearing her clothes or, that type of stuff. Really, it just got really, really bad. And the fact that I had to lock her in was very hard for me, but I had to keep her safe
Right, right.
at night. Um, and then mommy declined further, so now mommy could no longer get out of bed. So I had to get help because what I was working.
Right.
So I got some help. I want to say in April or May. Um, my sister continued her decline. I'm now blending all her foods. Um, I have to bathe them both. I have to do everything for them both because none of them can do it for themselves. My sister
Did
doesn't
anybody come in for help? You didn't have any kind of care or a
I
home
got, I was
care?
paying privately.
Oh,
I was paying privately for my sister because this is something that folks don't, nobody plans to get sick or
mhm.
plans to get that type of illness where you've lost cognitive. So if you were planning, you would have divested everything you owned years in advance. But don't have a house, don't have any assets because you're getting minimal from insurance. You're getting nothing.
Mhm, mhm.
From her hospital stay, she got like an hour twice a week for like 2 weeks, where somebody would come in and bathe her. By the time they came in, she's already bathed. I would
Mhm.
get up early. I would get them both washed before I started work. I
Right.
start work at like 8:30, 9 o'clock. So
Mhm.
they're coming in at like 2:30 in the afternoon. I've already done all the stuff.
Right, right.
They come in, whatever. So that didn't last anyway. So I started paying privately because I needed help. Mommy had Medicaid,
Mhm,
so she was able to get some hours.
mhm.
So I signed up for CDPAP. Is that what they call it? Yeah,
Steady pan, yeah.
CDPAP. They only gave mommy 4 hours.
Oh,
I mean, I didn't care. I was taking the money to pay somebody else who was helping the other, when I did get some help. So I
mhm.
had one person trying to help with two. She was a godsend because who the heck is going to be able to do that? She felt so bad for me because I'm trying to help her, help them. I could only afford one person. The
Right.
4 hours for CDPAP, I was grateful, but come on.
Mhm.
4 hours at 15 an hour. But my sister's needs, that's a whole nother thing. You can't. Mommy could feed herself. She could do all that stuff. She could say if she's hurting. So my sister forgot how to swallow now at this point. There are days when all I could get her to do was try to take 2 sips, and that's at the end of the day. It just was anyway. So August 30th, the last week of August, mommy just like she just took a dip. The kids went back to school on a Friday. She said her goodbyes to them because she said, I'm gonna be going. I'm gonna be leaving you. And they sat with her and they played the music because my kids adored their grandmother. Like their room was a clubhouse. And she knew she was going and she, took off her rings. She's like, well, here's one for you because she had like three bands. She gave them one each and gave me one for my niece, my brother's daughter. And she told them, she hugged them. They took pictures. Like I said, what is this? But she was able to tell them goodbye. And that was Friday. My brother and I drove up because they're like 6 hours away, took him to school. And my other niece was here staying watching them, like, because I didn't have weekend help yet.
Mhm.
Ironically, the following week, I got someone to help on the weekends, but I never had anyone at night. Anyway, we come back. I come in on Sunday night, I come back and I walk in the front door and I hear her asking for a Nurse Nightingale because she called me Nurse Nightingale, like Florence Nightingale, the nurse who was, helping the soldiers back in the war. I walked in, I hear her saying this because now my mother has forgotten that I wasn't here. And I was like, she's forgetting?
Mm.
So I come in and she's talking about all the people that visited her spirits. Because I noticed the last month she started seeing people and having conversations with people I couldn't see. So she was telling me about these kids that came together and things like that. I was like, what kids? She was seeing things. Anyway, my brother and I were with her, and she was basically telling us goodbye. My brother was about to go back at 4 a.m., and she said her goodbyes and stuff. And she's telling us, remember your God, stay humble, whatever. We're like, okay, mommy, it's all right. You rest now. This was Monday. And as I like to put it, she started her transition that night. And by Wednesday night, she was gone.
So your mother passed before your sister.
Yeah. My sister started wailing and bawling, and she was yelling that we're orphans now. She was inconsolable.
Mm.
So she was very present, no cognitive issues, very, very present in that time. I was like, it was tough. 2 weeks after we buried my mother, my sister had a stroke. She
Wow.
said she had nothing left to live for because mommy was gone. And she had a stroke. And they were both obsessed with my mother and my sister loved me to this. It was crazy.
Mm.
Crazy about me. They were always worrying about me. Who's gonna take care of you if we're not here? My mother was worried that my sister was so much to handle. My sister was worried that my mother was so, like, they were all worried about me. Like, who's gonna take care of you? Oh, we love you. Wild. She literally decided, I'm not gonna stay. Mommy's gone and I don't want to be a burden. And I was like, my sister never, like the way we loved her, we spoiled her. And like she was never used to that. She was so pampered and we had such a good thing going. And one mommy left, she's like, that's it. She had a stroke. 2 weeks after she had the stroke,
Mhm.
I'm sitting with her, running my mouth as usual. Sunday morning, we had devotion. And I said, look, I fed you and I didn't have any coffee. I'll be right back. Because I know she's hearing me. So
Mhm.
I'd never stop talking. Um, Actually, the night before, I was talking to her and I was praying with her and just letting her know that I was there because I know she could feel my touch.
Yeah.
Because she's home from the hospital and every day it got worse. She got more quiet. And then she started making the same sounds that mommy was making days before she passed. The
Mm.
gurgly sound, you know. And so Sunday morning comes, I come downstairs for coffee. The weekend person started the week before. So this is her second time here.
Wow.
I'm downstairs getting coffee. She comes in and she goes upstairs to check on sis. She's here not 10 minutes. She gets upstairs and she says, Miss Hope, you need to come. You need to come. She was gone.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I looked at the camera because, of course, I had cameras in the room because I need to. Sometimes I couldn't get out of bed. I was like, let me see what she's doing. Do I really need to go over there? Oh, no, she's fine. She's just like painting the walls or whatever.
Right.
I saw that I left the room at, I want to say 10:15. And at like 10:20, she took like a big breath. And then like by 10:30, she was gone. This is 2 weeks after burying mommy.
That's
So
so
then, yeah.
emotional. I mean, there you have so many things that is packed in this, especially that there were two that were very, very, very close.
Oh my God. And that's just a high level view of what happened.
Right.
It's
But
2 weeks.
but you took care of them and you both two people and you were able to, maneuver. You had to maneuver your time management and all kinds of different things and financial issues and stuff like that, that's a lot. How are you, emotionally? How did that impact you? Because first you dealt with your mom and she passed, and then right after that, your sister, who you're very close to. Like emotionally, what was going on with you?
I I thought I was being punked. It was It seemed, even now when I think about it, it seems surreal. Like the two people who loved me most in the world, they just said peace out and they left. I It
Yeah.
was hard because I've always been her baby sister. I've always been, I didn't know myself if I wasn't a daughter and a sister. They both basically helped me raise my kids. My mother was there from the kids were born. So managing, even my kids were destroyed. I mean, they crashed and burned. They had just left for school. And I told them that when first my mother passed, and they got on the Amtrak and they were home by midnight. I didn't know they were coming home. It never occurred to me how they would have been impacted so much, but I could not tell them because they
Right.
spoke to my mother every day.
Yeah.
My brother flew in almost every single weekend for almost a year
Mhm.
to see his sister and his mother and to give me a break.
Wow.
Even if I was just going to lay down or just so he's on whatever, that is the nature of our family. So I'm still figuring it out because
Of course. Yeah.
my kids are away at college now. Now I've had someone around me almost for the whole time. For a year after mommy passed, my niece was here
Mhm.
and she went back to her life. She got a job, but still finding I've always been the sister and the daughter. I've been running mommy's life for the last, my sister's life
Mhm.
forever.
Yeah.
So now
Wow.
I'm like, what do I do? I have a great job, but I realize that it's them, their love or community that sustained me, not work. So
What?
now it's the purpose. Like I needed a greater purpose. Working is great. I get to pay the bills, but it's like this void, this hole that I can't fill?
Yeah. What are any significant challenges that you may have faced, like to give somebody some kind of insight or something that that you weren't expecting going through that, like maybe you expected there would be more support, or maybe you expected that you'd be able to handle it, whatever it is. What significant challenges did you face?
Support, healthcare. I'd only heard about the healthcare system, but until you're personally impacted, you don't know what these deficits are that folks talk about. You figure you work for 40 years, you retire. Yeah, you get to see the doctor. You get to, if you have a cold or the flu, you go, you get care,
Mhm.
but you don't know that that's basic. You get something like cancer, Alzheimer's, something that is going to take a lot of money over a long period of time. Unless you have nothing on paper, no income, no anything like that, you're not getting a lot of support from your insurance. What you're encouraged to do if you have assets is transfer to what's called community Medicaid, where you essentially give them all your stuff, like sign your stuff over
Mhm.
and have them responsible for your care.
Mhm.
So you're literally at their mercy. That's the only way to get your insurance company to cover the expenses of this illness because you need round the clock care.
Mhm.
I was spending
Mhm.
close to $3,000 a week.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that was primarily my sister.
Mhm. Right.
A pension, like, as good as it was, your pension doesn't cover an illness like this.
Mhm.
You don't know that this is going to happen, and you start to think, what could I have done if I had known that something like this could happen? So what I learned from that is there's something called, is it extended care insurance? Um, It's pricey, but since they passed, I started passionately seeking this because I said,
So
my
long-term,
children, pardon me,
long-term care.
long-term care, that's it. I knew I said it wrong. Long-term care, right? Because I feel like my children will give up their lives to take care of me. I don't want them to do that.
Mhm.
So when you think about it, if you have a say, what can I do? You know, a little goes a long way. A little something to help, God forbid, if I ever end up in that, or anyone. So I started researching what could we have done different?
Mhm.
You know, and I came up with that and I tell everybody about it. I was like, look, do it now or as soon as you can, put a little something away, find an insurance carrier that'll give it to you. It's a process like anything, but I did not know that I would get so little help from insurance. When I tell you, I spent hours on the phone every day,
Mhm.
even trying to get the right kind of attention and awareness to her debilitating situation from the medical professionals. I had no idea, and I had so little help. The most help I got was through the social worker on the Medicaid side that was helping my mother. That gave me insight into the Medicaid, you know what I mean?
Right.
Little pockets of help here and there, but overall,
Mhm.
it was a nightmare. It really, really was a nightmare. So that was the biggest challenge. That Medicaid, my mom never really worked
Mhm.
in this country. She retired and came. And I mean, yeah, she's a US citizen, but she basically got everything.
Mhm.
They were sending, you know, everything, Pampers, you name it.
Right. Right.
Um,
But on the
my,
other
sis-
hand, with your sister,
my sister who'd been here,
and work,
worked here for
couldn't get
40
anything.
years, I was confused because, you know, this is how folks can only be concerned about their interest.
Mhm.
I'd heard about it, but I wasn't personally impacted, so I didn't have the understanding. So now I know better what the hoopla is about when you look at the news or the elections or, you know, these big ticket things on the ballot. Now I understand.
Mhm.
My sister worked her whole life here.
Wow.
And the idea that she would have to divest everything she has to get help from a system she's paid into her whole life
Mhm.
is a little bonkers. I'd
Right.
heard it, but I felt it now.
Mhm. Yeah.
Because now here I am. I would have sold every spoon to take care of her. You know what I mean? I would have done anything to make sure they were both okay.
Mhm.
But why would we have to? Like literally. But that is something that folks don't think about. They don't know because nobody ever thinks it's going to happen to them. It happens so suddenly.
How are you now? Like how it hasn't been that long. So how are you ensuring self-care for yourself? Like how are you taking care of yourself now?
Well, every day I reassess what that means because I'm home now. There's nobody here. I just came back from the kids today. I was with them for a week. And hmm, whatever shall I do? So I'm focusing on my health. You know, there are lots of things I wanted to do that I couldn't do.
Mhm.
Like I was injured in a car accident years ago. I needed a knee replacement, and I said, I can't do it now. Who's going to take care of him, you know? And even before my sister came, my hands were full with mommy back and forth to the doctor, a million hospitals. I mean, my mother had what? I want to say two, three heart attacks, at least three strokes. I mean, it's been busy.
Wow.
I never had the time. I said, who's going to take care of her? You know? And then she always bounced back 100%.
Mhm.
Like we've broken her out of the hospital and driven to Florida the same day. She's like, no, man, I'm good, I'm good. But I couldn't, I knew how much time I would need to recover. So I did my knee replacement, 3 months now. I'm still recovering. Things like that. I'm working on my health overall and, you know, my mental health because
Yeah.
it seems like I have so much to unpack, you know, and things you don't know you are triggers until you're in the situation, you know, and
Mhm.
really reacquainting myself with myself because I went from raising my kids, getting them off to college to now having my mother and sister
Mhm.
as a caregiver. So my empty nesting was postponed because I jumped right into something else. So This was just the first year of literally trying to care for myself. It was a bumpy start because I don't think I got it until June of last year, like what that meant,
Mm, okay.
you know.
Wow, this is an amazing story. I'm glad that you're on this side of it and you seem like you're, coping. I mean, it's going to take some time because this is a lot. So it's going to take some time. Give yourself some grace. You did the best you can. You know they loved you, and and you were there. It's caregiving is a hard job, and you don't know what you're going to deal with, but it also is rewarding that you are able to help the people that you love.
No, it's to say it's rewarding is I feel really, really blessed because we were in like a love bubble. Like we were having the best possible time we could right here.
Mm,
But
mm,
I do feel it was a privilege to be able to care for them.
yes.
I wouldn't have wanted anyone else. When mommy was in the nursing home, I thought I was gonna set it on fire
Mhm.
because she came home like with bed sores and I was there every day. But
Mm.
they're short-staffed. They were doing the best they could. I couldn't bear the thought that she was there, and neither could my sister.
Wow, it is so amazing. It's so amazing. And there's so much love in this. It's a lot of things, a lot of responsibility packed into it, but you can hear the love. You can.
No, yeah. It was a lot of work, but you're not thinking about it when you're doing it.
This is an awesome story, and I'm so glad that you were able to be there for your parent and for your sister, and just take care of yourself now. It's time for you to take care of yourself as however you see fit, however you think you need
You
to.
know, it was so hard. I'm a lot. What do I need today? What am I going to need tomorrow? What should I plan for? What am I going to eat?
But it is, listen, you're blessed. You didn't run from the responsibility, so you're blessed and everything else is going to work out for you. So, but thank you for sharing this amazing story with us. It's a lot that people can learn from this. You never know when something's going to happen. You might be the one, tag you're it, and what are you going to do? And just learning more about the system. A lot of times people do not understand the system, and that's one of the reasons why I do Autumn is here because you start thinking about it. If you don't hear about it until something happens, you're going to be totally lost. You have
Yeah.
to start talking about it, thinking about it, and sharing experience and saying, wait a minute, I don't want that to happen to me, and then people can
Now it
teach.
makes, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what this is about. So thank you so much for sharing your story and giving us so much information. I really appreciate it, Hope. And
Thanks
I,
for inviting me. Took me
and
a minute to talk about it, but
it's good to talk about. It's good to share. It's good to talk about it. So it's great. It's great.
it's
So
a way that they can live on. I tell you, one last nugget is lean on your community. Like, don't suffer quietly.
mm, yes.
People have a greater capacity for love than sometimes we give them credit for. And you get help from places that you would have never expected. You know
Yes.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You would never, it's heavy. It was very heavy what was happening here. Everybody couldn't handle it.
Mhm.
But a lot of people in my village showed up.
That's
I
awesome.
mean, when I tell you they showed up, whenever my mother would ask, who's going to take care of you while I'm gone, when I'm gone, and my sister would say the same thing. And I said, in my village, and I tell you, they all showed up
Mhm.
before she was gone, and there was a crowd in her room, even when she wasn't speaking, and she could go in peace because they have me. I have a lot of support, and people have more support than they think.
Mhm. Oh, that's
Who
awesome.
I would not have even thought of. Not that I wouldn't expect it. It just wouldn't, it's not my nature to be leaning.
Right.
People showed up. They don't have to ask you, what can I do? They just showed up.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, that's great. That's
So
blessed. So
take the help.
yeah, take the help. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much. I truly appreciate this. And I just wish you well on your getting back to yourself and reclaiming, yourself.
Reclaiming my time.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks for having me. I think my computer's about to die too.
Oh no. All right. Take care. Good night.
Thank you. Bye-bye.